Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole, and today we are taking a look at two leaked games coming exclusively to the Xbox ecosystem by Microsoft, leaked by Windows Central and Mr. Gordon. This is rather interesting. So as you know, there are already enough projects and secret games in development at Microsoft, which we can look forward in the next few years. And this time it seems we get two more games. One coming from Compulsion Games, the creators of We Happy Few, and the second one being developed by Obsidian. So we have here some two very narrative heavy hitters who love to focus on all the RPG elements and all the narrative in games. And I'm kind of curious to see where it goes, especially Compulsion Games after We Happy Few. Let's be honest here, We Happy Few was an interesting concept and had unfortunately some major bug issues and some gameplay issues here and there, but the world building and the world design was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Personal note here, I still believe that after the first act the game could have ended, and then they pushed further for it because Kickstarter goals and whatnot at that point. But I think if they have the time and resources to actually create a narrative heavy hitter with like the right founding and the right gameplay, they can actually do something really amazing. And with that said, let's talk about Project Midnight. What is Project Midnight? Project Midnight is, as I said, the new game by Compulsion, and it's a supposedly, keep in mind, game designs change, games change over the years. Sometimes games get even cancelled, especially if they are in early development. So if you're wondering why the game might have changed 3 years down the road, or it never comes out, that's pretty normal in the game business. But supposedly, this is a third-person action game set in a dark and fantastical world, and some of the game's early concept art can be seen right here. So this is apparently just concept. Keep in mind, this is not like how the graphics looks, but we can already see that there is some darkness going on, and apparently it is set in some deep southern gothic world. So we have like Southern America, and then they're putting some gothic on it, and you can see like the birdhouse right here. This is apparently the protagonist of the story. We don't know her name. We don't really know what's going on there, but it seems like she has a bow. It's tough to say, really, but there might be some bow action or something similar going on. And then we have this harpy thing, which is described as harpy, but you can see like it was maybe a human at some point and changed quite a bit. It definitely looks very dark and interesting. It reminds me of The Secret World, if you have ever played that MMO. By the way, in my opinion, one of the best MMOs out there, which unfortunately never got the recognition it deserved. But yeah, it reminds me very much of The Secret World, and I'm all for it. Like, if they are going for it, cool. As long as they're having the time and the budget for it to make it happen, it sounds definitely interesting. And apparently Midnight is described as a coming-of-age tale drawing upon inspiration from America's Deep South, as I already mentioned before. And the game features magic and large fantastical beasts with a strong southern gothic vibe. The game is Wooly's single-player experience, with that has been described to Gordon as strong story-focused. Now, a single-player experience, I'm all for it. That's cool. I think that's something Compulsion Games has done pretty well with We Happy Few, even though it sometimes felt like they could have gone multiplayer. like in some section it definitely felt like it, but it doesn't have to be. Like not every game needs multiplayer, let's face it. And yeah, definitely looks super interesting, but keep in mind this game is super early in development, and that also means we will probably not see it for the next 3 years or something like that. So don't get too hyped about it, and you don't even have to remember it right now, because as I said, like, games can change drastically in years, or well, sometimes get cancelled because they realize it just wouldn't work out. And the next game on the list is Pentiment. Yes, Pentiment is apparently the new game by a small team at Obsidian, with only about 12 people working on this. It seems like that Obsidian really slowly shifts to having some big teams working on those big RPGs, and then they have like some smaller teams who are working on interesting new games, which normally doesn't fit the Obsidian branding. Or, well, it is close to what Obsidian does, but it isn't necessarily what you would expect from them. Grounded is a wonderful example. Like, Grounded is an open world survival game, sure, but there are also a lot of RPG elements in it, and there is a story to follow around. So on first glance, you might think, yeah, Grounded, that's not really an Obsidian game, but when you play it, you realize very quickly, no, actually, this could be an Obsidian game. Different, but it definitely has the feeling of an Obsidian game in it. And, well, Pentiment could become, or Pentiment, seems to be exactly that. And if you're wondering where that word is coming from, it apparently refers to an underlying image in a painting, especially that one has become visible when the top layer of paint has turned transparent with age. So that's where that name is coming from. And this whole project is apparently spearheaded by Josh Sawyer, who has been known for amazing games like Fallout New Vegas. And it seems like they are going a little bit for the Disco Elysium vibe / ideas. So it is a very heavy narrative game where you are mostly talking to characters, and depending on what you are saying to characters, how they react to you, things might change drastically, and it even might create a butterfly effect where down the road you said something at the beginning which you might have thought doesn't really do much, and then hours later the character might, let's say, go crazy or something like that, right? So this would be a narrative RPG adventure and will not really focus too much on the combat. Close, but not the same. And they also will have an art piece, which apparently is reminiscent of the art style the game is going for. Let me show you that right here. That's how it looks. I know it's not it's not a lot to go by, but this very much looks a bit like the art style which has been used in like the medieval age, right? You know, when they're using those tapestries and whatnot to tell a story or showcase like a big battle or something like that. And that seems something they're going here for. Like, there's definitely some influence of the medieval age in there, and that might actually be something they're going for. And I'm curious to see how it works out. And your goal is to unwrap the murder conspiracy before you, which should be really interesting. Again, different to what Obsidian normally does, but still close enough to give you that Obsidian feeling. And if there's one thing I personally believe Obsidian has been doing great over the years, and decades even. It's the narrative. Like, even Fallout New Vegas had one of the most interesting stories in a Fallout universe. Like, if I have to, unfortunately, compare Fallout New Vegas with, let's say, Fallout 4, then yeah, without spoiling anything for any of the games, let's just say New Vegas made a little bit more sense from a story perspective, no matter which path you choose, whereas Fallout 4 sometimes felt like absolutely predicting and not very compelling to begin with. But then again, the gameplay was fun, so I didn't mind it too much. But yeah, like, narrative is definitely Obsidian's strong suit. And I will be honest, I'm glad that the Obsidian team is allowed to do something different, is allowed to do something which is not the normal games they're creating, and Microsoft is giving them the creative freedom just to try something. And it makes also sense for the strategy Microsoft has been working on for years now, especially with Game Pass, where they just need a stream of games coming on the Game Pass. Like, good games, not just, shitty games, but actually good games. And they said that they want to have like big releases every few months, so that people actually stay with Game Pass and treat it like Netflix, right? Like, you wouldn't subscribe to Netflix if there wouldn't be a steady flow of new shows coming to the platform. And the same thing is something Microsoft is trying to do right now with Game Pass. And so, yes, even though this is a small project by Obsidian, with only developed by 12 people, it is something which makes absolutely sense for Microsoft and their whole strategy. Now, apparently this game is a little bit closer to release than Midnight, and it seems like that they are gunning for a 2022 launch. At least that is what Jess Gordon is saying, or, well, Mr. Jeff Grubb has been saying online that this is apparently going on for 2022, which makes sense. It's one of those games which you don't necessarily want to announce too soon, because it is a relatively small project in comparison, and probably the impact on the market is higher when you are announcing it and you are also telling people like, hey, the game is coming out right now, or the game is coming out in a month or something like that, right? And you don't really want to announce that too soon, because it is a smaller project in comparison. So yeah, that is quite a bit when you think about it. We had tons of reveals in the last few months by Windows Central. And by the way, if you want to read the whole article yourself, the link is in the video description. Please make sure to check them out. They are doing fantastic coverage on everything Microsoft related, really. And you should also check out Mr. Jess Gordon. I also will put his Twitter link into the bio. And he is also doing a fantastic work there. But yeah, this definitely gets me curious. Midnight, not so much. Not because I'm not interested in the game, but because the game is not coming out for the next 3 years, and I have more present things to do with video games than waiting 3 years of the release of a game. But Pentiment, which is the smaller Obsidian game, could be cool. I love Obsidian games. They are always nailing it. And I'm kind of curious to see what they are doing with smaller team sizes. Yeah. With that said, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're on your way out, I would appreciate if you leave a like. If you didn't like this video for whatever reason, or the dislike button is right next to it, even though YouTube is not showing those dislikes anymore. Different topic. And if you're new to the channel, you want to see more gaming news in general, and reaction videos to new announcements, tips and tricks for new games, like Lost Ark, we are focusing heavily on that right now, then I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe. It would me help out a great deal. And if you do so, please do not forget to click the bell icon, because you have to do that nowadays to get notified that I actually uploaded a new video. Thanks, YouTube. And yeah, it would help me out a great deal. If you ever want to catch me live though, you can do that from Monday to Friday, starting at 9 a.m. ET with Mole in the Morning in Your Gaming News. And then we are switching to video games, and you can do that not on Twitch, but on trovo.live/ChaosMole. So thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.